What's up, faithful? You're listening to another episode of the 49ers Web Zone No Huddle podcast, a part of the Odyssey Network. I'm Brian Rennick, and I am flying solo today. Al is busy with work and kids' sports and things of that nature. So I'm coming to you by myself today. Al will be back next week. But it is Friday, August 2nd, and I just wanted to touch on a few things, a few storylines coming out of camp. Again, we've talked a lot about specific storylines, including Brandon Aiyuk, arguably the biggest storyline. But one thing that I think we haven't touched a lot on, and not necessarily because it's not important, I think it's very important. But one thing we haven't talked about is there is one other 49er who is holding out for a new contract, or at least an altered contract, and that is the big man himself, Trent Williams. Trent has yet to report to training camp, and part of it is because he is looking for a new deal. And you might think to yourself, well, why is Trent Williams looking for a new deal? They signed him to a pretty hefty contract in 2021 that made him, it was a 6-year contract. It was 6 years for $138.06 million, an average annual value of 23.01. That 01 was very important because at the time it made him the highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL, the highest paid tackle and the highest paid offensive lineman. Well, since that time, obviously, there have been more contracts signed, and he is no longer the highest paid. He's often considered the best, but he is no longer the highest paid. And so there is belief that that is part of why, he would like to, restructure, re-engage, extend, whatever the case may be. It's actually a very similar situation to Christian McCaffrey. And the big thing, I think, for Trent, besides no longer being the highest paid by a significant margin, when it comes to highest paid, his average annual value of 23.01 is nowhere near the top of the market anymore. Especially now that the Bucs have re-signed their all-pro tackle, Tristan Wirfs, to a massive extension, in which Wirfs has now become the highest paid tackle in the NFL. His extension is 5 years, $140.63 million. Which comes out to an average annual value of the article I'm looking at doesn't have it. I got to do some math real quick. 140.63 over 5 years. That's 28.126. So about $5 million per year more than Trent Williams. So again, is Trent looking to be the highest paid? Possibly, but just like Christian McCaffrey, I think the biggest issue for Trent Williams is that he doesn't have any more guaranteed money on his contract. And so if you look at the deal he signed, again, it was 6 years, $138.06 million. There was 40.1 guaranteed at signing, and there was 55.1 million in total guarantees. That was the 40.1 million in guaranteed money at signing was his signing bonus, all of his 2021 and 2022 salary, and then $1.2 million of his 2023 salary. Those were all the guarantees. So starting this year in 2024, there is no guaranteed money left on Trent Williams' contract. And as a 36-year-old, I would imagine that is probably I don't want to say scary, but if you're talking about your livelihood, the scariest aspect of the contract for Trent Williams. again, just like Christian McCaffrey signed a 4-year deal with the Panthers, had 2 years still remaining on that deal as of this season, but none of that money was guaranteed. And so the 49ers did what they will likely do with Trent Williams, which is negotiated an extension with McCaffrey that added two additional years on, and also guaranteed quite a bit more. I believe it was $38 million total, or 24, sorry, guaranteed $24 million to Christian McCaffrey, when again, nothing was guaranteed on his contract past last season. And so the issue becomes, the word out of training camp is that this offensive line has been pretty abysmal with Trent Williams and his absence, especially when it comes to running the football. In fact, Grant Cohn has tweeted that almost every run to the left side has been for little to no gain. And you're talking about running the ball with the likes of Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason. And not only that, but just the offensive line performance overall as a unit has been pretty abysmal, again, without the leadership of Trent Williams on that line. And so Brandon Aiyuk has garnered most of the attention for his contract negotiations and his holdout. And I think quietly, Trent Williams' holdout is arguably more impactful to this team than Brandon Aiyuk's. Now, I don't anticipate that they won't get something done, because here's the other thing about Trent Williams' contract is his cap hit for 2024 is $20.9 million. His cap hit for 2025 is 23.3, and his cap hit for 2026 is $33 million. Those are, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was looking at that wrong. That's his annual cash. His cap hit for 2024 is 31.5, 2025 is 34.1, and 2026 is 37.7. So not only would restructuring this benefit Trent Williams, but it would benefit the 49ers, especially this season, lowering his cap hit this season and probably next season. But we're in a different situation than we were with Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is entering his age 28 season, which as a running back is old. There's no two ways around that, but still 28, right? Trent Williams is 36. We talked last episode about the time bomb that is the Brock Purdy contract extension. We talked about how top heavy this team is when it comes to the salary cap. And we have talked about how we don't really know what things are going to look like. And if you're the 49ers and you know that Trent Williams is the best left tackle in the NFL, you know how important he is to your team, but you're already looking at age 36. And if you do what he wants, which is more than likely an extension, right, in order to give him more guaranteed money and then spread that guaranteed money out over the life of the contract, I mean, you're looking at paying Trent Williams, regardless of if he's on the team or not, well into 2029, maybe even 2030, right? If you're adding void years and things of that nature. They already have a void year on his contract for 2027, in which he will count for $3.6 million against the cap, even though at that point, he would not be on the team anymore. So, like I said, I don't anticipate this not getting done, but it is something to keep an eye on, because, again, this offensive line has been pretty abysmal in camp so far. Not even really any bright spots. Even Dominic Pooney, who's gotten in at right guard, has had some ups and downs. Jalen Moore has been filling in for Trent Williams, and while he's acquitted himself fairly nicely in pass blocking, according to some that have been at camp, again, his run blocking has been just terrible. And then, the offensive line as a whole, as I said, has been really, really down. Now, there have been guys that have been out. Jake Brendel's been out. John Feliciano has been out. According to some on Twitter who are at training camp practices currently, which are currently happening right now. Banks is back after missing last practice. And also Spencer Burford and Jake Brendel have also returned after missing time. So hopefully getting some of the regulars back will help with some of that continuity. But yeah, things have not looked great on the offensive line. And as we know, the offensive line has been, especially in the playoffs, the Achilles heel of this team. And if Trent Williams isn't a part of it, which again, I don't anticipate, that is a non-starter for this season and these Super Bowl hopes right off the bat. If Trent Williams does not, for whatever reason, suit up for the 49ers in 2024, to me, that's a wrap. Like there's no getting around that. You look at how they performed last season without Trent Williams for those 2 games, and also a hobbled Trent Williams in Cleveland. And it was not great. Not great. So and then news on our other contract holdout, our other contract negotiation. Brandon Aiyuk still not signed, still has not signed an extension. Colin Cowherd tweeted out yesterday that basically it sounded like news on a Brandon Aiyuk, or news about Brandon Aiyuk, was imminent. Nothing happened yesterday. No news yet today on anything on the Brandon Aiyuk front. One thing that Kyle Shanahan has said, though, is that Brandon Aiyuk is participating in everything except practice. Shanahan said he has been a part of this team. And so, again, good news. Anybody who thinks he's going to be traded, I think you should probably rethink that stance. I don't think there's any way at this point that he gets traded. But again, contract is not signed. Today, August 2nd, this is the date that Debo signed his contract 2 years ago. So that could be some nice, synergy, if you will, if they can get a Brandon Aiyuk contract hammered out and finished by today, just as a nice little 2 years to the day type thing. But we shall see. Again, I think this gets done. I think it gets done sooner rather than later. I think Brandon Aiyuk will end up in camp practicing. I would say probably within the week. But obviously, until that time occurs, until that signing happens, it's just a waiting game, and it's frustrating. And I have expressed my displeasure in the way that they handle these contract negotiations with their stars. It doesn't seem like it's going to change anytime soon. So I guess I'm just old man yells at cloud when it comes to this, but it's costing them money, and in the past, it has cost them performance from their stars. As I've stated in the past, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and Nick Bosa all had their worst seasons since their rookie years, the season that they signed their extension, because again, all of them didn't sign their extension until late in the summer. And with Deebo, he came in out of shape. With Bosa, obviously he didn't come in out of shape, but he did not come in football shape. And he even said, hey, that it affected me. It affected my performance the whole year. And so hopefully that's not the case with Brandon Aiyuk, because this is going to be a team that is going to be led by their offense. We've said that. It doesn't mean that they're going to have a bad defense, but I don't think you can count on the defense being what carries this team. And so you want all of your weapons. You want Trent Williams. You want Brandon Aiyuk. You want to be able to bring Ricky Pearsall along as slow as need be, right? You don't want to have to throw him into the fire, right? Because Brandon Aiyuk isn't there. So Again, hopefully it gets done soon, but we shall see. Other news and notes coming out of camp. One thing that I am excited about, I was a big fan of Isaac Guerendo coming into the draft. Loved his speed, thought it was tantalizing. Loved the thought of him as a kick returner, but also just adding that element of speed back into the running back room. Again, not that Christian McCaffrey is slow, not that Elijah Mitchell is slow, but Guerendo had that Raheem Mostert type speed. But he has missed quite a bit of camp already with a pulled hamstring. And so I don't know where his chances for this roster stand. To me, if he's dealing with a hamstring strain and we're in week 2 of training camp, I do believe that we could see possibly an IR stint for him, right, to start the season, so he can heal fully from that. But one of the reasons why I think that might be an option is because there's another running back in camp that has been lighting it up, and that is undrafted free agent, Cody Schrader from the University of Missouri. And I think people are sleeping on Cody Schrader, and I said that when they signed him. He's not a physical specimen, right? He didn't light up the combine. I believe his 40 time was in the high 4.5s, maybe the low 4.6s. But Cody Schrader led the SEC in rushing last season in 2023. The SEC, the best college football conference in the country, the best college defenses in the country. Cody Schrader led that SEC in 13 games. The guy racked up 1,627 yards and 14 touchdowns in 13 games last season at Missouri, when he was the focal point of the offense. Missouri didn't have a great passing offense. Everybody knew they were running the ball, and Cody Schrader still rushed for 1,627 yards and 14 touchdowns in 13 games. Again, he's not a physical specimen. He's 5'8". Again, like a 4'6", 4'5", 4'6", 40. But one of the things that people highlighted, draft experts, guys like Dane Brugler, Lance Zierlein, guys like that. One of the things that they commented was that what made Cody Schrader such a great runner of the ball is his vision. And the other thing is his decisiveness. So he's a one cut and go kind of guy. And Grant Cohn, who covers the team, is at training camp every day, said that he has been the most consistent rookie on the team. And he has made big plays as both a runner and a receiver, which is, again, good news for Schrader when it comes to his ability to make this squad. He's got, again, he's 5'8". He's got a low center of gravity, which is helpful. He has excellent vision. He's decisive. He runs downhill. Grant Cohn said he doesn't dance in the backfield or constantly bounce runs to the outside. He makes one cut and goes. He's the perfect fit for the 49ers outside zone scheme. That's exactly what you need when you're running outside zone. You need a running back who has good vision, who's decisive, and can make one cut and go. Now, is he gonna be a home run hitter on the ground? Absolutely not. But what he can do is be a consistent threat to get 3, 4, 5 yards a clip, because he is decisive and he can make those one cut and go. And so Grant Cohn is guaranteeing that he makes the 53-man roster. I don't know that I'm ready to make that guarantee, but if Guerendo does start the year on IR and either Jordan Mason or Elijah Mitchell don't show much in the preseason, I think Cody Schrader could absolutely sneak onto this roster as somebody that really nobody, I don't think, really gave a chance to, or at the very least, nobody really even knew. that he was on the squad, right, as an undrafted free agent. So shout out to Cody Schrader. I love stories like that. I would love to see, again, an undrafted free agent make this squad at the running back position. There is a long and rich history of that with the Shanahan family, but also just the Shanahan tenure here in San Francisco. And not only that, but he was the rookie today that led the hype. Rookies are required to hype up the crowd at training camp. And Brad Graham, or the SF Niners on Twitter, posted a video of him, and he absolutely rocked the Dougie to hype up the crowd. So again, a fun guy, a fun story. Love to see what he's doing in camp. Can't wait to see what he does in the preseason. And if he tears it up, like I said, I think there might be a good chance that he makes this 53-man, especially if this hamstring issue lingers for Garendo and Jordan Mason and or Elijah Mitchell don't really separate themselves during the preseason. So we shall see. Other news coming out of camp, not necessarily coming out of camp, but I just thought this was fun. We have talked quite a bit on this show about Brock Purdy, about where he fits in the quarterback hierarchy in the NFL. Al and I have determined that he is probably a top 15 quarterback, maybe in the closer to the top 10 than 15. But Madden 25, Christian McCaffrey as the cover boy. Madden 25 has been releasing their top 10 rankings at each position, and they released their top 10 rated quarterbacks for Madden 25. Shouldn't be a lot of surprise. Leading at number 1, 99 overall, is Patrick Mahomes. Number 2 is Lamar Jackson at 98 overall. Number 3 is Joe Burrow, 93 overall. 4 is Josh Allen, 92. 5 is Dak Prescott at 90 overall. 6 is Tua Tagovailoa at 88. 7 is Justin Herbert at 87. 8 is Jalen Hurts at 86. And sitting there at number 9, number 13, number 1 in our hearts, though, Brock Purdy, 85 overall. And number 10, Kirk Cousins, 84 overall. So there you go. Debate settled. Debate settled. Brock Purdy, top 10 quarterback in the NFL, at least according to Madden. And hey, I think it's hard to argue. It's hard to argue that just based on production, since he became starter, again, I don't know how you argue that he isn't a top 10 quarterback in this league. I know the argument is if you put him somewhere else, is he going to be as good? We don't know. We have no idea of knowing that. What we do know is where he is right now. He is really, really, really good. And he is really good at running the system that he's required to run, which is all that is asked of him because, again, we don't need to know if he would succeed in the Kansas City system. We don't need to know if he would succeed in Las Vegas, if he would succeed in wherever you want to say, right? All we need to know is, does he succeed? Does he operate this system that he is required to operate here in San Francisco at a high level? Yes, he does. At an MVP level? Yes, he does, right? He was in the MVP conversation last year. So excited to see the growth. Other stories coming out of camp in regards to Brock Purdy. There are teammates who have talked about how much improvement they've seen from him. We've heard veterans talk about like his presence in the huddle is even more demanding. He demands excellence from his offense. He demands excellence from his team. His leadership skills are off the chart. His processing skills are off the chart. And I can't wait to see him. I can't wait to see what this season looks like for Brock Purdy. Has he been throwing interceptions in camp? Absolutely. Is that a big deal? No, it is not. Again, I implore you, take a step away from the ledge, right? What did I say last episode? Take 100 steps away from the ledge. If you're worried about training camp interceptions, I beg of you, go outside, touch some grass, take a breath, let the sun hit you, and get some vitamin D, and then maybe come back and see if you still think it's a big deal. Because I promise you, it is not. So, like I said, Al will be back next week. I appreciate you guys hanging with me for a little bit. Camp is ramping up. Our preseason schedule is going to start pretty soon. We are hoping next week to get Cam Inman on. He has a book coming out, so we want him to be able to promote that and ask him some questions about how camp has gone, what his what his observations are. Also want to shout out before we end here, Homage. Again, we've got a link down there in the description. But Homage, love Homage, wearing an Homage shirt right now, my Tech Mobile Niner shirt. But they are sending us, Al and I, their Patrick Willis shirt, because 49ers legend Patrick Willis will be enshrined in the NFL Hall of Fame tomorrow. Tomorrow at noon Eastern is the enshrinement ceremony. So shout out to Patrick Willis. One story that I saw that I think is cool is Jim Harbaugh is chartering a plane, and all of the former 49ers that he has either on staff down there or at least around the team down there are joining him, and they are flying to Canton tomorrow to celebrate Patrick Willis and his amazing accomplishments, to be enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame for a career that was pretty short in terms of length of time playing, but the impact that he had every year that he played was enough for voters to give him his accolades that he so rightly deserves. And last but not least, it was announced this week, Frank Gore will be enshrined into the 49ers Hall of Fame. I do think there is a possibility that he ends up in Canton as well. But until then, he will be enshrined in the 49ers Hall of Fame. And that ceremony will actually be week 1 in the Monday night game against the New York Jets. So that will be awesome as well to see him get his due and get that 49ers Hall of Fame enshrinement. But yeah, exciting stuff. Questions still remain for the 49ers in training camp. Hopefully, specifically those contract questions get resolved soon, and we can talk actual football. But until next week, again, appreciate you guys listening. Please rate, review wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give us whatever you want to do. Share us with your friends. We would love to get into as many ears and as many eyes as possible. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next week. Later.